Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another one of my Star Trek reviews. I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to review this episode in a timely manner because there have been some whack intentional power outages going on in my city. Really seemed like Vice Admiral Layton just kind of went into my city and started messing everything up. Didn't even have reliable cell service for some reason. Maybe the world is kind of being taken over by alien shapeshifters, but I'm such a bozo and my phone isn't working, so there's no way I'd be able to tell. But luckily that was not the case, because now I got the opportunity to watch and review such a solid episode of Star Trek, and more so not solid, it was just extremely bold. Like, it was a really bold episode. This is the episode where we have our new non-binary character that's being introduced in the form of Dr. Aspen, who is being played by a transgender actor. Real quick though, don't know if you guys can tell, but this was an extremely Spock-centric episode. It revolved heavily around Vulcans and Spock and their culture. What an appropriate episode to bust out my new awesome Spock Vulcan boy bangs. Boy bangs, kind of the hot new ting of the summer. I'm just feeling hella cute. I just feel like Mr. Spock with the bangs. I feel very cool right now after watching that episode. It's a special one for a lot of reasons. It's extremely bold and attempts to tackle some really sensitive and relevant topics in what I personally perceive to be beautifully educational and tasteful and well executed. This episode also brings in a crazy cameo reveal at the end. It just shows a bunch of love to the TOS movies, Vulcans, Spock and Nurse Chapels' relationship in the TOS. But wait, there's more. Even pirates are in this episode, and a kind of annoying Klingon tease. Let's get right into it. I'm watching this show and I'm reading an article with Michelle Paradise saying that there's no competition between Discovery Season 5 and the other shows coming out. But really, Michelle, you should not be speaking like that. You should understand that this is a competition to make the best Star Trek show, and Star Trek Discovery is slowly falling down to be kind of like the worst Star Trek show ever. I keep on repeating on this channel about how I almost feel betrayed by Star Trek Discovery because I loved the first like 2.5 seasons, but everything from then on out just totally goes downhill, and it almost seems like that show just gets its cast ripped away from it before I could even learn to like them or anything, and it's just over serialized, and Captain Burnham is not an impressive captain. She's almost degraded as a character when she became a captain, and then on top of that, just to finish my whole Discovery spiel, the main character or a show, the moment she gets into a captain's seat, is totally just in this whipped relationship where the entire season revolves around her silly boyfriend. It just doesn't make sense, and it actually holds down and is just a total injustice to her character. You guys did not come here to hear my Discovery criticisms, but I'm sorry, they just have to leap out every once in a while. Episode starts off with T'Pring at a rehabilitation center. Relevance here does not matter at the beginning of the episode. You just need to know where her and Spock are, like position-wise. He's aboard the Enterprise and she is down doing her job, essentially. She kind of presses Spock really hard, though, and raises questions about human sexuality. She is making a respectable attempt to try and understand that human side of Spock more, but as you see in this episode, there is a lot of questioning to that typical and traditional identity that Spock is kind of subscribed to as a half Vulcan, half human. He's always kind of been constantly fighting these two identities, but the whole theme of this episode that's being introduced with this non-binary character in the form of Dr. Aspen, who is later revealed not to be Dr. Aspen, is that you don't necessarily need to subscribe to this identity that kind of exhausts you and limits you. Is literally just trying to talk about sex with Spock. She's trying to propose the fact that she has read a bunch of old-timey books that talk about human sex from different perspectives, and Spock's like, yo, hey, wait, I've read none of those. I've not thought about sex at all. This is going a little bit fast. That's when we get this really awesome scene with Spock and Nurse Chapel in the Enterprise hallway. Nurse Chapel is talking about Dr. Aspen, talking a little bit about their reputation. Spock seeks advice from Nurse Chapel. It is really awesome advice that she gives to Spock, essentially telling him that, hey, you're an honest man. You're a Vulcan. You're honest. Just keep on being honest to yourself and honest to T'Pring as a partner. If things are going too fast, you need to communicate that, and also you just kind of need to be honest with yourself in that situation. Be like, yo, you don't know what you're doing and you're going a little bit too fast. Extremely strong scene from Nurse Chapel, and this whole episode is just a really strong Nurse Chapel episode. It's gas. When we're introduced to Dr. Aspen, they give this spiel about the mission and how they are going to give aid and assistance to a group of colonists. However, these group of colonists end up getting kidnapped by pirates. Dr. Aspen reveals that it's probably the pirate ship known as the Serene Squall, which is the name and title of the episode. Also, there's this funny little bit where Dr. Aspen brings up the fact that in Captain Pike's profile, it literally refers to him as a Boy Scout, like he's really to the book, which is almost kind of insulting, and Pike's just sitting there like, Boy Scout, really? Also, I am really thinking about making a video just about Pike's hair alone, because it's just getting a little bit too goofy at this point. You get the profile shot of this man. His hair is peacocking so hard. It's like 3 or 4 inches off his head. So I just see a lot of memes of people commenting about how this dude's hair is just going so wild, and I kind of have to agree. Pike, the Enterprise, and crew, and Spock, and Dr. Aspen are now searching for these missing colonists. They're pretty much convinced at this point that they've been taken by pirates. Pretty sure it is Lon who makes the comment about how slavery beyond the Federation is very much accepted, like disturbingly, and that is very true. It almost seems like in about a third of Star Trek episodes, the main cast and crew are being enslaved or put somewhere against their will. After they get the rundown and we kind of get the exposition of what's happening in the episode, there's this dope elevator scene between Dr. Aspen and Spock, and it's just so money. They both have a great chemistry, and I even get the impression that they're trying to create some sexual tension between the two. Dr. Aspen really starts shining in the elevator scene. I can say that their actor's performance is definitely satisfactory, but just the dialogue in the scenes before the elevator were just okay and didn't really allow them to shine. Dr. Aspen in the elevator actually references the Kolinar, which is the Vulcan spiritual ritual that I'm pretty sure was first introduced in the motion picture. I could be wrong. Pretty sure it was first introduced into the motion picture and then was just brought up a whole bunch of times after that in other movies, and then also in like Voyager and Enterprise. It's cool to see it referenced, especially because Spock has lore written to specify the times in which he actually performed these rituals, and it's just cool to see how they're referencing a bunch of this stuff because it tie-ins later with the crazy bold cameo that's just shown in the final moments of this episode, which made me go and totally made me ignore the fact that they kept on referencing the Klingons so much in this episode, but they never show them at all, bro. Like, why is Strange New Worlds egging me on so much? Are you guys scared? Show me what you have in store for the Klingons. Show me what you're going to re-envision the Klingons as, because honestly, if you watch Discovery, they spend all of their time just trying to make those kind of really bold, scary, bald Klingons in the beginning just look way more like traditional Klingons. By the end of season 2, there's literally one aboard L'Rell's ship that looks like a traditional Klingon. Show the Klingons to me! I want to see them! Also, something that I have to say is that Ortega's, by this point, really does her job so well. I'm starting to think she's the perfect helmsman. She's confident. She's the friendliest person on the crew. Dare I say, a friendly get-along character, and that's not a criticism. It's almost the archetype that really a helmsman needs to fit into. They're the most, like, unproblematic, nice guy character, and they're the ones who are constantly influenced by aliens to be made into, like, the biggest assholes. Tom Paris and Sulu, I'm pretty sure, are most guilty of this. Like, they're very super nice and unproblematic, but aliens just love to take over their bodies, or they love to fall under the influence of something to make them do a whole bunch of fried stuff. The main helmsman is liked by everybody, and they never really beef with anybody, so I just think that Ortega's fits the bill and excels at that role really well. We maybe just need one standalone episode for Ortega's to really sparkle. They receive a distress signal while looking for these pirates. It's probably a trap, and yeah, it totally is a trap. It's like a trap from a mile away. Asteroids then align with a electromagnetic deflector, as Spock describes it, and it is called a net, I'm pretty sure, but honestly, it really just reminds me a ton of the Tholian web, but it was kind of a lame, cheap version. I would like to think that the Tholian web is a little bit more strong and deadly than what the pirates had. Spock is at his viewfinder with Dr. Aspen, and he actually has to make a choice between two asteroids. He has to shoot one. Both of them have an equal amount of chance to be like the proper asteroid to shoot to disable this web and save the Enterprise, and Pike almost puts it on Spock and be like, you have to make a decision, kind of locking up, because he's a Vulcan and he likes to subscribe more to his Vulcan side, but when you have to make a arbitrary guess between two things without any logical reasoning, that's when Vulcans start to get a little bit anxious. So naturally, that's what happened. Spock made the right decision and saved the Enterprise, but even though that happened, he's still going to be uncomfortable that he acted un-Vulcan-like. Dr. Aspen also looked really cool and confident next to Spock on the monitor, and they're obviously trying to imply that Dr. Aspen is kind of flirty with Spock, and it's just definitely happens, and it makes a lot of sense when you realize really who Dr. Aspen is. Dr. Aspen then confronts Spock in his room about what happened. Spock admits that he compares what he did on the bridge to a human guess and that he wasn't comfortable with it. Dr. Aspen then suggests to Spock that he needs to stop trying to fit into this half-human, half-Vulcan role and for him to find his own identity. Stop spending that energy trying to balance and analyze these two sides, trying to fit in these two boxes people put you in, and just kind of be Spock. Aspen then spoke about how a lot of times society is comfortable always trying to label things and put people and their identities into boxes, and how we can try to act a certain way to meet people's expectations, and it's almost limiting. Like, perhaps a lot of members of our society are just kind of fed up with trying to fit into this arbitrary definition of what a young man or a young woman is, and the idea of being raised in a society where none of that stuff matters and where people can be themselves without prejudice is a much more productive one, and that the vice versa, where everybody is constantly making arbitrary judgmental expectations of one another, is just definitely the bad scenario. I just thought that this was really strong. It really hit me personally. I get that while I'm sitting here making judgments of this representation of this certain community, that I am just like a regular white guy, and this is just my perception, and I cannot accurately perceive whether this is like really good explanation of these themes or whether this is really good LGBTQ representation. That's not the judgment that I can make. I can just sit here and tell you kind of what I'm taking away from this and what this means to me. Personally, throughout my entire life, I felt kind of pressured to act a certain way as a man. Father was super hyper masculine to the point where it's extremely toxic, and I think subconsciously I just kind of waved a lot of that off so I could be a little bit less masculine than your average guy. Throughout my life, this has kind of been a source of insecurity, but now that I'm a lot more secure with myself, and I've realized that it's just kind of exhausting trying to meet this idea of what's like super masculine. I don't really care that much anymore about seeming like tough or hard or like manly or anything. And since I came to that realization, life has just been like way more chill. It's been a lot more fun, and I'm a lot more confident in what I'm able to do, and I'm honestly able to do a lot more things than previously when I was kind of insecure about stuff like that. Aspen's speech and also just a lot of the rhetoric that they use in this episode, I just think is awesome. I think it's tasteful. I think it's well written. I think it's pretty flippin' poggers. I don't know about you guys. I just think that if we're going to talk about these themes in Trek, that this is a pretty nice way of doing it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That's definitely what I just took out of it. Dr. Aspen then leaves saying that if the trap was set by the Squall, that they'd already be dead, so trying to imply that that trap was not set by them, even though it totally was. Like, this is all totally by design. And also, apparently, Dr. Aspen did not see the Disco Season 2 finale where the Enterprise had the durability of an anime main protagonist. They then think that they see the cargo ship filled with the correct amount of prisoners. Pike the Boy Scout then goes straight into away mission mode with Una and Lon. Really starts to look like a classic Disco away mission visually at first, but then things definitely go from 0 to 100 when the ship is boarded by pirates. The away team is then held at gunpoint by just an outnumbered amount of opponents, one of which is seemingly the captain of the Squall, who is just a dumb Orion, and this is definitely the weakest part of the episode for me, in my opinion. The space pirates are all way too dumb, and I almost think that they don't have a right to be that dumb. Like, I get that you're almost implied to be led by an Orion, and a lot of Orions can seem kind of airheaded, except for like the big boss Orions. But there's just a point in this episode later where Captain Pike has to escape the pirates down below on the away mission, and the way that they do it is definitely the weakest part of the episode. The ship is boarded, like I said, and Nurse Chapel has this insanely cool scene where she has to avoid the pirates boarding the ship, and she crawls up into a Jeffries tube, and there's just this sick shot of her climbing up it, and the Jeffries tube just looks so cool. I swear, it just looks like really TOS as hell. I am such like a cheap slut because instantly this episode got a 7 out of 10 from me after I saw that insane Spock choreography on the bridge the moment that the pirates, you know, get to the bridge of the Enterprise and their blasting scene was choreographed amazingly. It is the best instance where people are like boarding the ship in New Trek. It is amazing. Like, the pirates come in, they're shooting, Ortega's is shooting back at them, Una and Ortega's get shot down, and it's all up to Mr. Spock. The power scaling actually makes him, like, it's so beautiful, dude. I cannot express to you how excited I am when I saw Spock body these people with the Vulcan neck pinch. Spock should easily be able to take down, like, a wave of grunts, and that's exactly what he did. He was protecting Dr. Aspen, then furthering this kind of tension between them. Dr. Aspen even takes a shot to the back, where I'm totally convinced, I have to admit, where things just totally twist and Dr. Aspen is not who they say they are, and I just did not see it coming because they get shot in the back and everything. Is so convincing. I love the power scaling in Strange New Worlds. Everything is just like so accurate to the T. Spock behaves in a way I'd expect him to. Like, I'd expect him to take down this amount of grunts. It's so perfect, and the choreography is so clean. When Spock threw that dude across the Enterprise bridge, oh my gosh, I wanted to jump out of my chair. I was so hyped. That right there instantly, because I am a cheap whore, the episode just instantly gets a 7 out of 10 innately from that scene alone, and we'll go up from there. We'll go up, or maybe we'll go down from there. We will see. Spock has to go hunting for wabbits. The whole Enterprise crew is being held captive, so he has to go through the ship with this like long rifle, and he looks like he's hunting. It looks so cool. Down below, Pike is talking to the Orion captain of the Squall, and the way that he decides to delay and kind of distract them and kind of plant the seeds of manipulation like a Starfleet captain is supposed to do is that it almost seems like he has to like Bobby Flay his way out of the situation. He convinces them that he needs to cook for them. Like, things start to seem really cool when Pike is using his like +5 level charisma to go around and talk to the Orion captain and his subordinates, and for a second there it's really looking like, oh my gosh, this is TOS as hell. He is Captain Kirking these people, planting these seeds of manipulation. But then here's where the episode really drops the ball for me, and it just kind of becomes super weak. Pike proposes this little maneuver that he has a name for. I really don't remember it. I don't care to remember it, because honestly, he implies that they're going to start a mutiny of some sort, and here I'm thinking that it would be really cool and very TOS-like for them to start a mutiny among the crew. It would be like a lot more convincing and believable for them to turn on each other, and for that ruckus to maybe have one of the guards come over and allow them to escape. I thought that's what they were going to do. It's not original, but it's slightly clever. But what they decided to do was just so insanely lame and mundane. They simply just had Pike and Una and Ortega's plant the seeds of mutiny among the enemy crew. Like, these people are so stupid they don't realize that these people in the cage are going to do whatever they can to like get out. So they just kind of treated these pirate underlings as though that they're the stupidest people in the universe, when really they don't have any right to be. Like, common people in the Star Trek universe aren't totally stupid. It really really lame way for them to get out of the cage. Nurse Chapel, hypo ninja sprays 2 people in the hallway. It's canon, Nurse Chapel has tattoos, let's go! You lamos couldn't see them in the TOS. They were there the whole time, trust me. The power scaling is just so good. I really loved Spock and Nurse Chapel fighting people in this episode. It just seemed really modern, really well done, and I just couldn't ask for anything better. Spock fought those people the way I would have wanted him to, and Nurse Chapel fought these 2 pirates in the hallway the way that I would have loved her to. She used hypo spray to just barely get them, you know what I mean? She's not a superhuman, she's not a Vulcan, she's just a regular, competent senior staff. She's like low-key a part of the senior staff at this point, even though her rank is technically kind of really low. So we learn this fake story that the Squall raided the transport of Dr. Aspen's husband and killed him. That's why Dr. Aspen left Starfleet. That's why they're doing humanitarian work. When it comes down for Spock to like utilize his Vulcan side and utilize what makes him Spock to go and save the ship, Dr. Aspen is almost like, yo, you can't do that. That's how my husband died. That's super whack. We should just get the heck out of here. Except that this is just another really wise piece of manipulation that made the twist of this episode actually like a crazy twist that I was not expecting, because it just came so fast. Almost maybe a little bit too fast. Spock is like, yo, screw your feelings. I'm Mr. Spock. That's who I'm going to be. I am not going to abandon this ship to pirates. This is the Enterprise. My duty is to actually die before I do such a thing. So cool. Also, at this point, any relationship between Dr. Aspen and Spock would just be kind of weird, because they're kind of pulling a Dr. Janet Wallace, and I kind of get the impression at this point that the whole attraction that Dr. Aspen may potentially have for Spock is because they have a dead husband. But really, you know, we learn that their husband is not dead, and that the real identity of Dr. Aspen and their husband makes that attraction even a little bit more weird. 3D screen actually looks good for the first time in Star Trek history in the engineering room in this series. I don't know what it is about like previous scenes. They really don't use it all that well. It looks kind of corny a lot of the times that they use it in Discovery. They attempt to regain control from engineering Nurse Chapel, Spock, and Dr. Aspen when, oh my god, what a twist, Dr. Aspen was the captain of the Serene Squall the whole time. Their husband is not dead. Their name is not Dr. Aspen. Their name is actually Angel. They're this crazy villain character. They went from being like an insane, potentially awesome doctor character from Star Trek. They played that role so well, and they're actually able to also play this great role of just an insane villain who switches up. No, this isn't Dr. Aspen. It's Angel. And now they want Spock. Why am I almost kind of disappointed? I really liked Dr. Aspen, and that transition from Dr. Aspen to Angel, actually, maybe I'm just stupid. I was not seeing it at all. Like, it was actually a twist that got me. It actually kind of hit me. As a viewer, I felt a little bit betrayed. I was like, no, where's this awesome, potentially cool doctor character that could be reoccurring? But now we have this really saucy villain character that's definitely going to be reoccurring, because we learn Dr. Aspen is just on some planet somewhere, like just chilling. The real Dr. Aspen uses Spock as a bargaining chip against T'Pring to get this certain Vulcan with this weird name off of the rehabilitation center, because that Vulcan is actually the husband of Angel. Hypothetical husband in that story never died. Angel's cold-ass villain monologue is a little cringe at first, but it shapes into something really special when they look into Nurse Chapel and say, think you know love is the only thing that makes the cold loneliness of space bearable. And I was just sitting here thinking, yo, that line is TOS as so dope. Just so something that Captain Kirk would say to some alien to try to come to some rationalization. Damn, that was hard to say. She shoots Spock in the back in order to save the Enterprise, in order to save T'Pring's reputation, because what Angel really wants is to use Spock as a bargaining chip, get this certain Vulcan by the name of like Zavarius or something off of the rehabilitation center. If this happens, T'Pring is definitely going to lose her career. Spock is probably going to lose the Enterprise. So Spock, in this crazy gamble, then takes Nurse Chapel, does this really passionate kiss in front of T'Pring in order for them to literally split their wedding vows, like their whole ritual bond that they've made. They actually split it and they broke up on the view screen. It was such a powerful scene. It really was a powerful scene that warranted them like breaking up and them severing this connection into making it so convincing that like, okay, Dr. Aspen is now forced at this point to just kind of like give up on reclaiming their husband. It's so epic. It was such a great scene, and it totally explains why Nurse Chapel and Spock have this relationship in the TOS, but they have this really cool closing scene later that even like nails it in the coffin even more. So yeah, Pike just kind of cornily comes back with the Squall and attacks the Enterprise at the end of the episode to reclaim the ship. You know, I'm not happy with the way Pike and the crew just kind of like off screen took care of the pirates. It was so lame. It was completely off screen. Very little effort on that portion of the episode trying to explain how Pike escaped the pirates and got back to the Enterprise and was able to help Spock in the end. It was kind of really lame. Angel gives a great exit speech as they utilize the necklace that they, you know, got put on at the beginning of the episode in the elevator to transport themselves to an escape shuttle, saying that Spock doesn't need to adhere to this half Vulcan and half human identity, but instead to just be themselves. I really mess with that, and I really fuck with Angel, aka previously fake Dr. Aspen. T'Pring is weirdly extremely understanding at the end of the episode. I thought that she would throw a big fit. She respected the choice as a gambit to save the Enterprise, her career, and Spock's life, so she thought it was a good exchange. And when she implies that it was impossible for Spock to have feelings for Nurse Chapel, you can definitely hear the hesitation in his voice where he gulps and goes like, yep, don't have feelings for Nurse Chapel. That's definitely impossible. But we all know as viewers that there is definitely a chemistry going on between them now, even though at the end of the episode they kind of choose to deny it. Spock is over here sweating over Nurse Chapel, and I low-key am too. Like, Nurse Chapel is totally a baddie. She's Gen Z as hell, super competent with the hypo spray, has these like really hot tattoos. The ending of the episode really does a lot for TOS canon and the TOS movies. It's actually revealed that, oh my gosh, this Vulcan that Angel was trying to get off of the rehabilitation center the whole episode was Spock's like weird ass wetlock brother Sybok. Oh my gosh, from the Final Frontier movie. I'm so happy that they're doing this because Final Frontier is one of the few TOS movies that I think that I really like and is just above average. That is so cool that they're bringing Sybok back, and that Angel is probably going to be an awesome reoccurring character because of this, and is just going to be a great Star Trek villain. I really cannot wait to see this. Is Sybok and Angel going to be the season 1 baddies? I'd be honestly super content with that. It just made me really happy when that happened. I jumped out of my chair. I was super gassed. This episode was great. It had a couple scene transitions that were a little weak and out of place. The episode speaks miles for gender and sexuality identity. I just think that they did it really well. This episode was sex-filled, really talked a lot about gender roles. Totally here for it. If you can't tell, my blood sugar is just kind of evaporating from my body and I'm kind of losing energy. But I just really liked that episode. All that being said, what did you guys think of this episode? I really liked it for a lot of reasons. Anything you want to share, leave it down in the comments below. I read all comments. If you're enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe once we get to 10K subscribers here on the channel. I am going to dress up like a Star Trek Xenos and go harass people in public probably. Join the Discord to discuss and have discourse on anything that we talk about here on the channel. Please like the video if you liked it, and with all that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.
Can I